Do you know that companies like Netflix, Amazon, and Google trust Python for everything? All the way from recommendation systems to data analytics. And with the rise of generative AI, Python is playing an even bigger role in powering these intelligent systems. So if you're curious about how Python can work for you, let's dive into today's video where we'll be understanding Python for machine learning. We're going to explain you why Python is so popular and how you could set up your entire environment using Anaconda. We're also going to explore tools like the Jupyter Notebook, VS Code, as well as Google Colab. We'll be covering all of the basics like data types, simple mathematical operations, as well as how you could create basic charts using Matplotlib. So if you're ready to get started with Python for machine learning, let's jump in.
Let me just take you through the first module that we are going to go ahead and cover, which is about Python for machine learning. Okay, the first thing that we are trying to understand is why do we require Python? Okay, so Python is, you can say, is a software development kit. Okay, so basically uh, you can say in IT world we do use a word, okay, which is very famous, and we call it as a SDK. Okay, so SDK basically stands for software development kit. Okay, when we go ahead and use this word software development kit, basically a kit which is going to help you develop a software is called a software development kit. So what is that kit that we are going to go ahead and use? We can use any programming language to be able to go ahead and develop a software. Okay, so we basically use a programming language which is called as a kit. Okay, the programming language that is profoundly used to go ahead and build machine learning, or you can say AI softwares, are Python. Okay, or you can say people are also using R, people are also using Julia. Okay, and considering that Python has limitations with respect to in memory compute, people are also towards Spark. Okay, Spark engine. And when we say Spark, we make use of Python on top of Spark. Okay, so for big data analytics, people also go ahead and make use of PySpark. Okay, but apart from that, you can even make use of R. There is also one language called as Julia, or you can even go ahead and make use of Python. So basically all this programming language helps you to go ahead and develop software. Okay, or you can say develop models which are going to be embedded in a software, and that's the reason we go ahead and call this kind of thing as software development kit. Okay, now the first thing is, I hope you got the information of why do we need to go ahead and start with Python for machine learning. Okay, that is the first thing that we need to understand. Okay, so we are looking into Python so that we can build, okay, we are looking into Python so that we can build machine learning solutions. Okay, and machine learning solutions are also called as AI solutions. Okay, just to keep it simple. So if we want to go ahead and build machine learning solution or AI solution, okay, we make use of, okay, what do we make use of? We make use of Python as a programming language, as a standard protocol. Let me just take you ahead with the first chapter. So the first chapter is Introduction to Python for Machine Learning. Just to give an example, in this we are going to go ahead, today we are going to look into why Python is required for machine learning, which we have already discussed. To an extent, we have understood that Python is one of the SDK that is supported for machine learning work. Okay. Second thing, we will look into key benefits and features. We will also look into how can we set up the environment. Okay. When we say set up the environment basically means, in AI terms, I am saying environment means setting up the software system. Okay, and software system is going to be set up on where? On the hardware. Okay, setting up the software system on a hardware device like our laptop is what we call as setting up the environment. How can we set up the environment? Okay, that is also what we are going to go ahead and look. So once we set up the environment, okay, then we will install Python. Okay, and for that there is something called as Jupyter Notebook, or you can even make use of Google Colab. Okay, which provides you a free setup. Okay, you can see a free machine that you can go ahead and use with higher capability. You can use that. Finally, we will look into basic syntax. Okay, what is variable, what is data type, and how can we go ahead and perform basic operations using Python. Okay, that is what we are going to go ahead and touch base today. Now, just to give an insight, what is Python? Okay, so we do call it as a language of possibility, to be very frank. Okay, it was developed way back in 1991, but it really came into its picture. To be very frank, I passed out my bachelor's around 2011, but we were not studying Python at that point of time. The moment the AI and machine learning was more of into the real world scenario, okay, that is where this language was being profoundly used because it was very easy to use, okay, and it can go ahead and do high level, like you can say, work that even a JavaScript or you can say even a C sharp language can go ahead and do. It has that capability. Okay, so it was being created by a person called as Budo in 1991. It is very simple and very readable. The moment we will look into the code, you will be able to appreciate the simplicity of this language. Okay, one more important thing that we need to understand is it is versatile. Okay, when I say versatile, to be very frank, it is being used for, just to keep it simple, we do use it for machine learning and AI. Okay, we can use it for game development also using a library called as pygame. We will look into what is called as library. Okay, that is not a problem. We can use it for data analysis. Suppose you have an Excel sheet and you want to analyze it, you can analyze that using Python programming. If you want to develop a front end application, maybe a web application you want to develop, you can develop it. Okay, if you want to do some computation, like if you want to do some calculation, again you can make use of Python programming. If you want to automate task, suppose there is a website and I want to extract the content that is there on the website, we can even go ahead and do automation, okay, of various tasks. Suppose I want to wake up every Monday morning at 5 a.m. Or suppose if I want to send an email at 8 a.m. to my boss, informing him that I am available at the office. Okay, so if I want to go ahead and automate, okay, stuff with the help of Python programming, we can even go ahead and do that. Suppose if I want to send someone a reminder, I can even go ahead and do those things with the help of Python programming language. Okay, so considering that we have vast variety of audience, let me just give a brief about the programming language. So in when you want to go ahead and do write a program, okay, which is going to go ahead and do multiple tasks for you, right? So if we have a programming language, okay, and if you want to go ahead and basically do task, I told we can do data analysis, okay, we can do web development, okay, there are multiple tasks, okay, we can build machine learning model, okay, any task that you want to go ahead and do. Okay, just to give an example, right now I have written three tasks, 1, 2, and 3. Okay, so if you want to go ahead and do any task, for every task in the programming language you have something called as libraries, okay, or you call it as modules. Okay, you have something called as libraries or modules. Just to give an insight, in the Python programming, if you want to do data analysis, you need to call a library or module called as Pandas. Okay, similarly, if you want to do web development, you need to make use of Django, or you need to make use of Flask. I'm just giving you the name. Okay, or we need to make use of Gradio, okay, or we need to make use of Streamlit. There are multiple things that can go ahead and do this task, okay, or you can even go ahead and say that we can make use of Fast API. Okay, just to give you an insight, for this we can go ahead and call any one of this. Based on your expertise, you can use any one of this library or module. Similarly, if you want to build machine learning model, you may use scikit-learn, you may use TensorFlow, okay, you may use PyTorch. There are some of the these are some of the renowned libraries that are available for this kind of a work. Okay, fine. So just to give an example, Python programming, we have libraries modules like this. Okay, under this, sometimes you may also go like for data analysis. If you want to plot something, you can make use of matplotlib also. Okay, for doing data analysis, reading the data, you can make use of Pandas. For plotting, you can make use of matplotlib. So just to give an example, if you want to draw graph, you can make use of this. Okay, but if you want to read the data and do data manipulation, okay, read and manipulate data, then you can make use of Pandas, or you can even make use of NumPy also. Okay, you can make use. This is Django. Please forgive me for the overlapping of the word. Just to give an example. Now, sometimes within the module, you can even have submodules. Okay. That is also one thing that we need to understand. Okay. Apart from that, every module will have a class. Okay. Class is more like, you can say, a representation. Okay. Okay. You have something called as class. Just to consider this to be a class, which is a representation of everyone. And within this class, just to give an example, you can have objects. Okay. Now, if I ask a simple thing, suppose this is a class of standard, or I can say grade 1 student. Okay. So if I say grade 1 student, okay, in the grade 1 student, if I say objects, objects will be what? Objects will be students will be object. Okay. Okay. Teacher will be object. Okay. Even duster will be object. Fan will be object. Everything will be object, which are part of this class. So you have class, and then we have something called as objects. So what did I say? First thing that we need to understand is we have something called as libraries and modules. Okay. Now, just to give you an insight, I did say about libraries, or you can say modules, under which sometimes we can have submodules, and you have class and objects. Okay. And when we have something called as class and object, that kind of programming language is known as object oriented programming. Okay. So you have something called as object oriented programming. OOPS concept is what we have in place, and that is possible via the Python programming. Okay. And we are going to look into those things also. Apart from that, one more very important thing for us to notice, it is open source. When we say open source basically means there are two types of source of anything that is happening in IT. You have something called as proprietary, and then you have something called as open source. Proprietary means it will be paid. Okay. And then we have something called as open source, which is free to use, and you can even modify as per your convenience. Okay. Apart from that, it is highly scalable. When I say highly scalable, you can do a small task as well as you can use it for automating a large system also. Okay. Apart from that, it is so simple to write that anyone who is a beginner, okay, and who wants to go ahead and start with programming, they can start with Python. It's so simple. I did say that it is versatile and it is very easy to learn. Okay, because it has English like syntax, which is why we call it as beginner friendly. You can go to Python download page. Okay, the moment you go to Python download page, it will take you to www.python.org/downloads. Under this, you can download the Python 3.13. I would recommend to download a version which is a little, you can say, old, 3.12, because 3.13 multiple things are, it will work, but sometimes it may not work, like some support might not be there. So if you want, you can go for 3.12. You can install 3.12. So if you want, you can download it from here. Looking out for a Python with different OS, so I can go for Windows, Linux, Mac OS, and other. I can just click on this. The moment I click on this, here you can see whole page with respect to Python 3.12. I'm interested in Python. Okay. So if you can see Python 3.12, if you want to use, it cannot be used on any language, any system which is Windows 7 or earlier. So I can directly use it for 64-bit, which is my system. I can click on this and now I can download this language. Okay. Software. So once I download this software, I'll click on this thing. The moment I click it, since it is already installed, it is asking me to modify, repair, or uninstall. I'll say modify. Here, we can go ahead and select the options. It's important that we go ahead and say pip, because this is for Python installation package. If you remember, I told something about libraries, and to use the library, we need to install packages. Scikit-learn is a package. Okay. Pandas is a package that I was saying earlier. Those are packages that first needs to be imported using something called as pip. Okay. So we need to select pip. If you want to look into documentation, you can select this also. Other options are up to you to go ahead and use. I can click on next. Also see to it that you go ahead and install this. Once you will install, then you will be able to go ahead and use it. Okay, so you can create shortcut. Do not forget to add Python as an environment variable. This is important, or else every time you need to go ahead and define where is your Python installed. So it is actually installed in some space. Okay, so for that, it is important that you go ahead and add Python to variable. That is also important. Once you have done this, you can close this thing. And once it is done, then you can go to something called as command prompt. Okay, once you go to the command prompt, you can just type Python -- version. The moment you do this, can you see the things are already installed in my system? So once you have installed, okay, once you have installed, then you can go ahead and write a Python code, and then you can run it here itself. Okay, we will look into that aspect. You can run it. See, any Python code, you can run it in the command line interface. This is called as CLI. This is also called as command prompt. Okay, this is also called as terminal. There are different names. Okay, so you can run any Python file, any Python code or program in the terminal. But running in the terminal can be a task which can be a little bit, you can say, naive for people who are from non-coding. Okay, so Python code or program can be run in the terminal, but it does not look that good. Okay, so how about if I have a user interface? Okay, if I have a user interface, more of a user interface, that can be really helpful. In that user interface, I can go ahead and see my code as well as open the terminal also. So here I can only open the terminal and run the file. But what if I want to write a piece of code, and in the same UI, I also want to go ahead and see my code as well as open the terminal at the bottom. So for this, there are different types of UI available. Some of the UI there is something called as Anaconda. Okay, there is something called as Anaconda Navigator. So what do we need to go ahead and do? This provides you a platform, okay, for data science and machine learning project. Okay, if you want to go ahead and do using Python or any other programming language, you can make use of Anaconda Navigator. So to use Anaconda Navigator, first you need to install Python. This is important. So once Python is installed, then you can go here and you can type Anaconda download. Once you go to this Anaconda download, you can just scroll down a little bit. You can go to this download Anaconda. Here, you're not required. Okay, so now if you want to accept, you can accept. Right now, I'll just say skip registration. Do not register, just say skip registration. Once you skip registration, you get an option to download it for Windows, for Mac. Okay, you can download. So can you see? I can directly go ahead and download Python also. But right now, I'm interested to go ahead and download the, you can say, Anaconda Distribution. Okay, so if I click on this, I will be able to download Anaconda, and then I need to install Anaconda. Once Anaconda is installed, you can go to Anaconda Navigator, or you can open Anaconda PowerShell also. Okay, if you already have it in place. So I'll just go to Anaconda Navigator. I think I need to install this. So let me just download this. Okay, I'll show you different IDs, but right now our aim is not to understand ID. Our aim is to understand Python. Okay, so this is what we call as IDE. Okay, so this is a distributor. Anaconda is a distributor, and within this distributor, we have different IDEs. Now, what is IDE? IDE basically stands for Integrated Development Environment. Okay, now when I say integrated development environment, basically you're going to develop something. Okay, suppose I'm going to write a piece of code. Okay, and I'm also going to open the terminal here itself. So I'm going to write the code here, open the terminal and execute the code and see the result. Okay, so that kind of softwares are known as integrated development environment. One of the integrated development system is Visual Studio Code, which is from Microsoft, which is an open system. So this is a VS Code. How do you install? Similar to how we are using Anaconda, we can even use VS Code. So I can just search for VS Code. Since it is getting downloaded, I can just search for VS Code. I can go to the first link. Okay, I can just click on download. And here we do have Visual Studio Code that we can download. So I've already downloaded VS Code. Now, what is the best part about this? Let me open a folder. Okay, I went to the file. Let me just show you this aspect. So herein we do have multiple things. Okay, this is how it will look like. Right now we can click on this Explorer. That is okay. Okay, you can go to the search. You can look into other aspect, but right now this is Explorer and this is search. Let me open a file. Let me open a folder. Let me create a simple folder. Let me just give it a name as Jalal. Okay, and I think that folder is already there. So let me give some another name. Let me open this only. That's okay. Let me open the folder Jalal. So I've just opened a folder Jalal. Okay, under this folder, if I want to delete something, I can delete it from here also. I can directly delete the file. Now, after I have done this, now here you can see I have an option to create a file, to create a folder and refresh. So if I click on this, I can create a folder. Let me just call it as folder 1. So now I have created a folder. If my cursor is on top of this, within this folder, I can create a file. So can you see I am creating a file within this folder? Let me just create a file within this folder. And now we can give any extension. Right now, for Python file, we can give two types of extension. We can give first the extension is .py. The moment you give the extension as .py, can you see here there is a symbol of Python? Everyone can see this? Is it okay? Okay, wonderful. So what we are trying to go ahead and do, we are just trying to go ahead and create a file. So I've just created a file. Now, since I have created a file, let me just write a simple command. Let me just say print hello K21 students. Okay, I've just given this information. Now, the moment I give this information, this file is part of which folder? This folder. Let me just click on this. Here on the top of the system, here also you can see run. I can go here. I can open a new terminal. This is what I was saying, a terminal. The moment I open a terminal, where have I opened the terminal? If you see C users lost desktop Jalal. But where is my file? Is my file there in the Jalal folder or is my file there in the folder 1 folder? Folder 1, right? So what I need to do, I'll just say CD. Then I can type folder 1 and now I'm in the correct folder. Until and unless you are not in the root folder, you will not be able to execute the file. This is called as root folder, the folder where your file is present. Now, what do I want to do? I want to run a file. So to run any Python file, the syntax is write Python and then follow it with a file name .py. Okay, this is the file. This is the syntax. So if I want to run a Python code, I can just type Python. Okay, and then what is the name of my file? The name of my file is jalal.py. I can hit on enter. And if there is something to be written, it will automatically go ahead and print the thing for us. Right now, just to show you, we are able to go ahead and run this thing. Okay. Yeah, there is one more type of file that we can create. It is known as IPYNB. The moment I do this, I want you to look into this. There is something kind of like a notebook. So there is a standard format that we can use, okay, which is called as PYNB, which is basically standing for Python notebook. Okay, so if you want to create a notebook kind of a scenario, I'll tell you what is this. You can just type IPYNB. The moment I type this, let me just come out of it. And here you can see the difference here is here. Let me just say don't save. Actually, I had to save this file, which I did not save. That's the reason it did not run here. The moment you do any change here, you can see that this is not saved. So what do you need to do? You need to go here and you need to save. So if you want to incorporate everything, you can just say auto save. If I do auto save, now it is saved. Now let me just run this file. And I was trying to print hello K21 student. Let us just paste this. Okay, I think it is saying no such file. I need to go into the folder. Am I okay? I just made a mess. Py, right? Can you see hello K21 student getting outputted? So I had to save it. Is it okay? So just to keep it simple, if you want to clear screen, you can just type clear. It will clear the screen. So I had to save the file. That's the only thing. Now, one way is to write everything and then run it. Another way, see, I'll tell you, this is the way that is being used by people who have developed things. Okay. So if you have developed everything, you can just create a single script. But what if you are testing the things? So for testing, I can just close this terminal. If I want to open the terminal, I can open it at any point of time from here and go into the directory. Now my point is, I'll close this file. Let me go to IPYNB. Here we have something called as code, markdown, and stuff. So if I click on this code, here I can write a line of code. Let me just say here this way. I'll just say hello K21 team. Okay, let me just complete. Okay, so the moment I type this, I have completed this. I can click on this play button. The moment I click on this play button, can you see it is asking which environment? So let me just click on this. Can you see Python 3.12? I have both. So I can select one of the environment. I'll go with 3.12. The moment I click, now you can see that syntax popping up. Now let me run. And here on the right side, here you can see now this is where the result comes. So this is being done at the time of testing and development, guys. Okay. Once you have tested and developed the code, whatever is your final code, you can take it here. Is it okay? Python notebook is preferred for testing and development. And this is being used for directly going ahead and executing and getting the output once the things are done. Is it okay? Now, apart from that, we also have something called as markdown. If I click on markdown, here I can use hash, okay, to write a heading. Let me just type. And now to run this piece, I can just come up, I can just do control and enter. Can you see I have got heading? If I want to have, there are different types of heading. We can use double hash. Again, we have a heading. We can use triple hash. I'm just giving you simple thing. This is also a heading. If I use 4 time hash, this is also a heading. So you can use any type of heading that you want. Similarly, if you want to make anything bold, you can make use of, okay, and now you can see the same thing coming up in bold. If you want to make it italic, you can even make use of this. This is italic. Okay, fine. So just helping you understand, you can use this to get the heading. If you remove this, it will still be italic, but it will not be a heading. Okay. So there are different types of heading. You can make use of hash up to 4 hash. And if you want italic, you can use this. And if you want to go ahead and use a bold, just keeping it simple, there are multiple things that you can write it in the markdown. Just to keep it simple, you can do this. Okay, fine. Just giving you an insight, guys. Now, once we are done with this, just helping you understand, I've just got the Anaconda in place. I'll just click on this. I just wanted to show you guys that we can make use of VS Code also. Now we'll go to this Anaconda. I have downloaded Anaconda and I'm just waiting for it to appear. Can you see it is opening up? Now, let me just click on next. I will say I agree. I'll say for all user I am okay. Okay, now once this is done, now it is going to go ahead and set up the things for me. It is going to install. Here I'll again give the space. Guys, this is important that if you want, this is important, register. This is important, guys. Very important that you check on this button, register Anaconda for the Python 3.12. Okay. And this is more like setting up the environment variable for Python language. The moment I click on this, now it is going to go ahead and install. Now let it get installed. So I told you we can use something in the command prompt. The same file, guys. If you can see, this is the file, right? I can right click on this. I can say copy relative path. I have copied the path. Now let me just open the command line. Okay. If I open the command prompt, let me just type cd, and this is the file. If you remember, the file is there in this folder. Don't let me copy the path. Let me copy the actual path, not the relative path. Now I'll come up here. Let me just say change directory, and let me just put, okay, sorry, let me just remove this file name. Okay, I hope this is correct. Okay, cd space. Okay, now what do I need to write? Python, what is the name of the file? Jalal.py. I can run it here. Anaconda is what we are going to go ahead and prefer. Let the Anaconda just get installed. We'll look into that. All okay. Just helping you understand the same code, you can run it in command prompt. The same command prompt, you can open it in the VS Code also. Is it okay? And the same thing we are going to say, see here also. Let it install. It might take a little bit of time. It was getting downloaded. That's the reason we were looking into other stuff. I wanted to do it in front of you. All okay? I'll again repeat just to keep the thing simple. The same file you can run in command prompt. Okay, terminal. You can even open it in the integrated development environment like VS Code. Terminal. Okay, is it fine? Here you can even write the code. Okay, in the VS Code you can even write Python code. Okay, which it comes with an extension of .py. We can even make use of Python notebook, which comes with an extension. You can run here, you can run here, you can run here. That's all okay. Fine. Now let it install. It is taking time. Let us just wait for some time until it is installed. Okay, so this is what I need to open Anaconda Navigator. Okay, we'll look into that. Okay, now whatever you saw that IPYNB, okay, IPYNB gives you Python notebook. Okay, the best part about this is, I'll tell you the best part. Okay, suppose you wrote 10 line of code in py file. Suppose you wrote everything in py file. Okay, now to run a py file, you need to, just to give an example, I wrote 10 line of code. Okay, okay, in the py file, just to give an example, if any of the line throws an error, suppose line 1 is correct, 2 is correct, 3 is correct, fourth line had an error, assume, and after that also all lines are correct. Okay, if I run a py file, okay, even if, try to understand what I'm saying, even if one line has error, output will not show. Okay, and suppose every line gives single output. Okay, output will not show. That is the difference. Py file. If you do the same thing in pynb file, the best part is, if you do the same thing in pynb file, you can run each line as a single code block. Is it fine? Single code and get the output. That's simple. Okay, now let this get installed, guys. 1 second. Almost done. Let it install. Okay, that is the advantage that we have. Just give me a second. Okay, now let me just take you through this part. Okay, so this is what we need to open, which we are going to go ahead and open. Now, why Python for machine learning? Just to keep it simple, it is really easy, to be very frank. Apart from that, I did say that it has whole lot of library, okay, for machine learning purpose. Okay, like for machine learning, you can make use of scikit-learn. Okay, for building deep learning model, which is a part of machine learning, you have a library called as TensorFlow and PyTorch. For working with data, you have something called as Pandas and NumPy, which you can use. Okay. The best part about this is if you want to build real world machine learning applications, okay, like suppose if I want to predict the house price of, okay, of an area, okay, I can make use of Python, wherein I can develop a regression model. We will look into what is this regression in the later part. Second, suppose I am getting an email. You might have seen that you do receive email from Google, right? Wherein it automatically is able to spam or non-spam your email. At the back end, they are using a kind of algorithm which you can call it as Naive based algorithm. Okay, which is actually, when I say Naive based, it is actually a type of classification model. Okay, so if I want to build a house price prediction, if I want to classify my data, okay, as good or bad, okay, or if I want to give it a label, I can do classification also. Similarly, if I want to build a chatbot, okay, which should be able to talk to a customer in the natural language, I can even go ahead and do that with the help of the libraries that are available, which will help me to build real world applications. So if I want to build chatbots, okay, here it was more about email classification, chatbots. Okay, then we can make use of something called as natural language processing. Again, application that can be built with the help of Python language. Similarly, if I want to get recommendation for my application, similar to how Netflix and Amazon is able to give recommendations, right, of what you should watch or what you should not watch based on the age or based on your liking. So if I want to build recommendation system, okay, if I want to build recommendation systems, okay, then I can go ahead and make use of again Python. And there are a whole lot of things that we can go ahead and do. Just to keep it simple, I wanted to touch base upon machine learning. So basically in machine learning, we have something called as regression, to be very frank. Then we have something called as classification as a basic, I am saying, okay. Then we have something called as clustering, and then we have something called as natural language processing. These are the four major things, tasks that any general, you can say any machine learning model looks into: regression, classification, clustering, and NLP. Clustering means more of a recommendation system build. Okay, so anything that you want to go ahead and do, you can do it with the help of Python. Let me uh, open this Anaconda. I think it is now installed. Can you see it is? I can say next. And now if I want, I can click on next. If I want to launch, I can launch. I can just uncheck. And now I can say finish. Once it is finished, let me close this. And now let me just search for Anaconda. Okay, the moment I search for Anaconda, now can you see we also have command line prompt for Anaconda? Can you see this? See, there are different types of command line. If I just search for command line, can you see Anaconda? This is normal command line. And I also have something called as Anaconda command line. Okay. Can you see this, guys? I can just click on this. And this is Anaconda command line. This is the reason why I was showing you Anaconda system. Okay. Now let me open two command lines. One is Anaconda and let me open a normal command line. Okay. Now, if I want to open a Python notebook, the Python notebook is basically what we call as in Anaconda, we call it as Jupyter Notebook. Okay. So if you want to open a Python notebook, okay, similar to how we were able to open it here, if I want to open this kind of a notebook, okay, if I want to open this kind of a notebook, fine, this kind of a notebook. Okay. Now for this, we can go to command line, and if I type here Jupyter Notebook, okay, let me just type. Yeah, this is my normal command prompt. The moment I type here, you can see it is saying it is not recognized, because this command is only going to be recognized when you are going to run it where in the Anaconda prompt. So I will stop this. I will go to Anaconda thing and let me type it here, Jupyter. Anaconda prompt is also a command prompt. If you just keep your over your cursor, you can see at the top, it is actually saying command prompt for Anaconda. So if I type here Jupyter Notebook, now you will see that it will actually open us Jupyter on my local system. Let me just show you. The moment I do this, now it is asking which browser. Be very clever. Okay, whatever browser you prefer, just select. I'm okay with Microsoft Edge, so I'll just say as always. Okay, now the moment I do this, here you can see I have something called as this. Now, just to keep it simple, this is how I can open. Now, once I open this Jupyter setup, okay, once I open this Jupyter setup, we here have something called as Python, terminal, console, new file, or new folder. Let me open a Python file. The moment I click on this, here you can see it is opening untitled.ipynb file. Okay, here again, if I type print, let me just increase the font. Let me just say hello world. Okay. Okay, and if I do control enter, or I can press it from here. If I do control plus enter, here you can see I've got the output. Okay, if I want to write a new line, I can just say click on add a cell. Here I can again add a cell. If I just need to go to the center, I can even add it from here. I can keep on adding cells and I can execute each cell. Okay, now if I want to restart my notebook, I can just go to restart kernel. If I want to restart and clear the output, here you can see I've got an output. I can say restart and clear output. That is also okay. Okay. Apart from that, if I want to run all the cells, I can go to run, and here I can say run all cell. Let me just say print. Okay. Now if I go here, I can say run all cells. Can you see run all cells? And now you can see it has executed both the cells. Okay. One more thing. You have code, you have markdown, and you have raw language. If I click on markdown on any one of the cell, right now this is a markdown cell. Here again, I can just say heading. I need to have a space before I type this. And now you can see, if I do control enter, you can see heading. Is it okay? If I want to write a comment, if I want to write this way, this is also okay. Bold. Okay. Similarly, if I want to go ahead and write it in italic, that is also okay. And there are other things that we can always look into. So always remember, if I change here from this to markdown, this is right now markdown. If I run this, this is markdown. Can you see? This is not a code right now. If I change it to code, then only it will behave like a code, or else it will not behave like a code. I hope that makes sense. Okay. One more thing, whatever we did via prompt, we can even open Anaconda Navigator. Okay. See, Navigator is like a UI, prompt is like a terminal. So if I open Anaconda Navigator, this is what was there in the slide. Okay. Just wanted to keep it simple. So in the slide, we wanted to open desktop application like a navigator, which I'm opening right away. So let me close this. Let me close this. And now it is opening a navigator, which can be opened right away. Let us just open this. It is opening actually. Just give it a minute. Yeah. Where is the navigator? Let me minimize. I think this is what is the navigator. Now let me just open this. Remind me later is okay. Let me put it to full screen. I'm not interested. Okay. Now here you can see all these are IDEs. Everything is an IDE, guys. There are multiple IDE. Even you can open a VS Code from here. This is also an IDE, a part of Anaconda Navigator. So Anaconda Navigator is like a one-stop solution wherein whichever IDE, integrated development environment you like, you can open. Which environment am I using? Jupyter Notebook, right? So if I launch this, there are multiple environments, okay? Every environment which is supported for Python development will be able to see it here. Can you see? This is actually opening it in my C user lost. Is it okay? From here also, I can go to desktop. I can go to Jalal folder if you remember. From here, I can go to folder 1 and again I can open. This is also okay. Everyone okay with this aspect? Now I can just double click on this file and now I can run this file. That's fine. And what is the advantage of using this? Now, just to show you, if I open this py file, I can even open this. But the point is, if I want to run this file, okay, here you can see we do not have an option to run. We can run it in our terminal. If I want to run this file, I can surely run this file in the terminal. It will absolutely work in the terminal. Okay. But if I want to run line by line here, that is not possible. The way it is possible in the notebook. Okay. If you want to change the name of the file, you can just click here and you can change the name of the file. Change. Okay. The moment you change here, change file, here also you will be able to see change. Okay. So you can change the name of the file also. That is also possible. Okay. And let us just go through the content again. Just give you a brief about all those aspects. Now, how do you set up an environment? I told download Python, then verify that the Python is installed. Then you can either install Notebook, or I told we can even install Anaconda, which automatically gives you Notebook. Okay, so you can install Anaconda, which already has Notebook, or you can directly install something called as Notebook. Here also you can just make, I'm not sure, but we can just try. Earlier it used to work. We can just install Notebook. So if you remember, in the command prompt it was not working. So you can install Notebook in the command prompt. Once you have installed Notebook in the command prompt, then you can just type Jupyter Notebook. So you can use Notebook either from here, okay, or from the Anaconda, okay, Anaconda prompt, if you remember, or from the command prompt by doing this pip install Notebook. So now this is also done. Okay, suppose just let me just say, okay, first I say a is equal to 10, okay, and then I say print a. I suppose I am writing this in a py file, okay, then I wrote b is equal to 10, and then I told print b. I am writing everything in a notebook, okay, then I by mistake wrote, okay, print is equal, or I'll just use a keyword. Maybe one of the keyword is for is equal to 30. Okay. Or let me put it 30. Let me just to avoid confusion. Let me just put it as here. Let me just put it as 20. Okay. Now, if I say for is equal to 20, and let me just say print for. Now, for is a reserve word. For is a reserve word that cannot be used to define variable. For is a reserved word that cannot be used to define variable. Is it okay? Now what I'm saying, suppose I wrote everything in a what you say, in a py file, and if I run, suppose the name of this py file is Jalal, okay, if I run this py file, if I run it in the terminal, jalal.py, it will throw me error in the whole code. Is it fine? The error was only there for this much part, right? Now, if I run this step by step, suppose this is my code number 1, this is my code number 2, then what is going to happen? I do know that this is correct, and this is wrong, right? So this is the advantage of using a Jupyter notebook, where you can debug, we can test a part of code, and when everything is fine, then we can compile it as a single Python script. Okay. Now let me just take it ahead from here. Now, similar to this, we also have Google Colab. So if you have not worked, since this is a part of the content, we'll just look into what is Google Colab. So for this, we need to type Google Colab, and then it will take you to colab.research. Okay. So now, right now, let me just click on this link. The moment you click on collab.research.google.com, it will take you to this place wherein I can just click on create a new notebook. The moment I open this, I've just clicked on new notebook, and now you can see I am opening a Jupyter notebook where I can write a piece of code. Let me just say, okay, let me just disconnect this. The moment I write this piece of code, let me just say print, okay, hi Colab. Okay, now if I want to run, the first thing is I need to connect. So there is an option here to click on connect and change runtime. The moment I click here, there are different types of runtime. I told it supports Python and R. This is the latest Python that is already installed onto this notebook. You can use it for CPU. Suppose you require a GPU. There are two types of GPU, T4 and higher edition T4, which is version 28 T4. Okay, TPU, a higher upgrade of GPU. So suppose if you want to go ahead and create a deep learning model for which you want to use a GPU. So you can click on this option, click on save. You can even go for TPU. Now the moment this happens, now here you can see I will have a TPU connected. Okay, G4 TPU connected. Now if I run this piece of code, you will be able to see that right now I am connecting to a system. Okay, this is a machine freely provided by Google. Okay, for you to go ahead and debug and test. Can you see I've got the response? Now just if I click on this, this is important. So this is a CPU. Okay, this is a system ramp is CPU. And if you remember, I connected to GPU. So this is GPU. Okay, so you're getting 15 GB of GPU. You are getting 12.7 GB of CPU, and you're getting disk space free for attaching your what you can say data directly here until 113 GB. Okay, now the point is, if this code requires GPU, then only it will connect to GPU. Right now you can see there is no GPU utilized because this code could have been executed just by a CPU. Is it okay? System RAM is a CPU RAM. So by default, you do get a CPU RAM even if you connect to GPU. Let me just change it to CPU, though I am connected to GPU, but it is not at all using it because it is not required. Now I am changing it again back to CPU. When I change it to CPU, it will only show CPU. Let me just run this piece of line now. It is connecting. Now it executed. Now can you see I only have CPU? Guys, can you see this? There is no GPU. Simple. Now if you want to attach a file, you can just click on this option. Can you see you can upload a file? Let me just click on this. Let me go to Jalal. Let me go to folder 1. Let me open a file. If you remember, I have a file. Let me just open this file. Okay, and I can click on OK. Okay, so now I can open this file. Okay, so if I want to open a file, I can directly, I think we can even open this file. Okay, okay, this was a pynb file. Okay, so if it is a pynb file, what I can do is I can go to Colab again. Okay, now I can go to upload. If I have a file, I can upload a file directly in the Colab. And now you can see I have got the file in place. This is the file. Now I can run this. Even if I want to write text, the same thing, the text can be written. The text can, this is a markdown. Everything is being specified here. Okay, so this many tasks we can go ahead and do. If you want to add a smiley, you can add a smiley. Okay, if you want to put it bold, you can put it bold. If you want a heading, okay, everything is being specified here. You can specify, and you can see the preview also. How will it look like? Okay, right now I can just run this piece of code, and right now it is only connected to a CPU. But if you want, you can connect to GPU. If required, it will automatically connect to GPU. Similarly, if you want to clear the things, you can even go here and you can see restart session. Okay, everything is being specified. Okay, if you want to clear the things, you can even go ahead and clear the things. This is done. Okay, so we can even make use of that. If I want to upload a file, can you see I can even mount a drive content and I can go ahead and do the pre-processing. There is an option to mount the drive content. If I run this here, you can see this is the code. The moment you click on this, it will directly connect you to the drive. I hope you can see. I am directly connecting to my drive content. What do you want to show? You can directly click on this Okay, whatever you want to show, click on continue. And this code was automatically being written. You can copy this code and use it. You just need to mount and unmount. Okay, so right now I'm mounting the drive content. Can you see it is mounted? Now, if I refresh, can you see my drive content, everyone? Okay, so we can mount a drive content just by click. This code will automatically come. If I unmount this, it will automatically go. If I mount this, it will automatically come. I just need to run this piece of code to mount it. That's it. If I have some data, I can directly go ahead and use it. Okay, we can write a code and we can even access the data to go ahead and do analysis of our data. That is possible. So this is a pretty nice option for anyone who wants to go ahead and work with, suppose you do not have a GPU. So you can ask a GPU here. You can even ask for this GPU. Can you see? This is a far better GPU. If you want to see the information, you can check here what is this information. Okay, what is TPU, what is GPU, every information is being specified about the VMs that is being provided for free for you to go ahead and use. So you can use any, but I would recommend for our purpose, if you use our Anaconda Navigator, that is more than enough just to keep the sync right now. But for your future purpose, when you are going to work on projects or something similar to that in future, then you can go for Colab. I do use Colab whenever required. Okay, so you can visit Colab, sign in with your Google account, create a notebook, mount the drive, and work with the data. Okay, now just to give an example, suppose I am writing a word, Jitesh. You can write any word. So basically, when you go ahead and write a word, okay, the point is there can be different ways in which this can be understood. Just to give an example, this is a string. So when I say I have written a word Jitesh, I can go ahead and store this as a string. Okay, string is basically text. When we write a text in Python, we call it as a string. But what if I want to store number? So I can store numbers also. I can store Boolean also. Okay, 0 and 1 if I want to store. Okay, 0 and 1 if you can see here. Similarly, if I want to use you can say there are multiple numbers if I want to go ahead and store, then we also have got something called as list, tuple, and tuple or tuple you can say, and we have dictionary. Okay, apart from this, you can even store, when I say numbers, you can store integers or you can even store decimal or float. That is possible. Okay, now just to give an insight for this, we have just created a I'm just talking about this lab. So let me open this lab, the first one. Just a minute. So for this, we can just open Anaconda prompt. I do prefer this because this is pretty simple. We can just type here. Okay, I just need to open labs. And under this, I need to open Jupyter Notebook. Now, once this is done, I can go to the first lab. Let me just go through the first lab. This is pretty simple. Okay, so what do we have in the first lab? Since we have understood, you do know that this is how I have written. You can see I have written double, you can say hash to get a heading. Then this is more like just a bold thing. And this is more like italic. So you can see this. Okay. So if you want to run this, you can run. This will not execute anything. If you want to run this, you can run it from here. Or you can, if you have double clicked, how can you go ahead and avoid this? Just do a control enter. It will automatically run the cell without giving any output because this is just like a comment. Now here, if I say there is also something called as comment. So if I want to write a comment, I can even write a comment also. The first thing that we need to understand about what we are trying to understand is we are understanding basic syntax. When I say basic syntax, the point is I'm helping you understand syntax. And for that, let me define a variable. Now the point is here you can see, you can give any name. See, if I give a name as for, okay, just see when I write a for, can you see a green mark on the left side? That means this is a keyword. Always remember, you cannot label your variable as a keyword. If I type print, can you see a green mark? This is again a variable. This is a predefined variable. If I write while, again you can see. If I write if, you can see. Making sense what I'm saying? So the point is, any name you give, see to it, see to it that it is not a keyword. Okay, that is already reserved. That's important. Second, if you want to start with capital, you can, just to give an example, let me just do one thing. Let me just come up here. Let us just try something. Let me just say name is equal to Jalal. So if I want to write a string, I can just type this. Now let me just print this. So to print anything, we just need to type here. And can you see? So we can start with capital letter. That's okay. That is not a problem. Okay. That is not at all a problem. But can I say name teacher if I write it this way? So if I write, I cannot give a variable initial, like I cannot store a variable in a two-letter word. This is important. If I want to have a two-letter word, I can use underscore or something similar to that. And now it will work. Okay. Can you see this? This is fine. Now, right now I'm defining a string. I am defining age, okay, a number, integer, a float, and a boolean. Okay. And you can see this. Now let me just run this piece. I've just defined. Now, if I type name, what I'm going to get? I'm going to get a string, and string will always come with inverted code. If I type age, let me just clean the things. That would be really nice. Let me clear our output and show you. Let me just start it from here. So I have defined something. Now, if I run name, I will get name. The best part about Jupyter Notebook is you do not need to write print statement. You just need to type the variable. It automatically prints. Okay. Now, if I type age, it will give me age. If I type height, it will give me height. If I type is underscore active, it will give me whether it was true or false. If you remember, here we specified it as true. So it is giving me the value. Now, in Python, there is also something called as variable reassignment. It is very simple. Earlier, I told x is equal to 10. Let me just put it this way. Let me just type it here. X is equal to 10. Okay, this is done. Now, let me just check the value of x. This is 10. Now, in Python, values change dynamically. Automatically, it changes. Now, if I change the value to string, and now if I type it, it will automatically take the previous latest value. Okay, so it has changed x from 10 to x to Python. What is reassignment? Suppose I took a variable name and I give the value as Jalal. Okay, then I printed name. What will I get? Jalal. Is it okay? Now, again, I use the same variable name and now I put the name as Izhar. Okay. Now, if I print it, it will take the latest value. What is the latest value of this variable name? Izhar. So it will dynamically reallocate the value to the latest one. Okay. That's it. Now, primitive data type. If you can see, just to give an example, the same data type we are looking: integer, float, string, boolean. If you want to print, you can keep on printing this. Okay. So if you want to print, just print and you'll be able to see the value. Okay. Now, there is also something called as collection data type. Again, very important. Earlier, we were defining one. We are going to look into this because this is really required. We have separate things for this. Okay. Now, what is collection data type? If I want to collect multiple values, suppose there is a roll number in a class. Okay. And I want to collect all the value in a single variable. So for that, we have something called as collection data type. Earlier, we were seeing single data type. Okay. Now, what if I want to store multiple data? So for that, there are different types of data types like list, tuple, dictionary, and sets. Okay. Though set is not mentioned, but we do have list, tuple, dictionary, and set. Is it okay, everyone? It can store multiple values in a single variable. Here you can see this is a variable. Okay. So if I want to store something called as list, we can use square. Okay. If we want to use tuple, we can use round. If we want to save set, we can use curly braces. And if I want to store dictionary, curly braces with two values, okay, key and the value attached to the key. Is it okay? When I say list, which kind of brace will be there? Square, tuple, round, set, curly. And when I say dictionary, curly with key and value pair. Okay. So let us just run this piece. Now, if I show you here, if I say my underscore list, can you see I'm getting all variables printed by a single variable? Suppose I wanted to list out all the roll numbers in a class by a single variable. I could have done that. All the students by a single variable. I could have done that. Okay. List, tuple, set. Finally, you can see dictionary also. Okay. Now, just to show you in the dictionary, if I come up here, let me just make a change here. We'll just try to make a change here. Let me put here Jalal. Can we again print it? We'll just check. Can we print a number and a string together? Yes, that is also possible. Okay, so we can store multiple types of variables in a single, multiple types of what you can say, data in a single variable. Totally possible. Can we do the same thing over a tuple? Let us just try 10.3 and then let me just type string. Okay, let us just check this out. Let me just check the tuple value. It works absolutely fine. Can we do the same thing over a set? We can just check it out. Okay. Again, let me just try. This is set. I have just rerun. Now you can see the set can also contain multiple data types. Okay. So it can be heterogeneous in nature. Now, if I go up, I go to key. Key will always be a variable. So within a variable, I can have multiple keys. Let me just say Jalal. Let me just say this as name. And let me just say this as pin code. Let me put the pin code as a number. It is a key, but I am defining it as a number. This key is having a string and this key is having a number. So let me just try this out. I've just executed this again. You can see. Now let me just go down. Here you go. Okay. So a dictionary can also contain multiple types of data. It can be heterogeneous. Now, basic syntax, like if I want to do basic operations, I told you basic syntax with respect to variable. Now, operation. Suppose if I want to do arithmetic, logical operation, comparison, how can I go ahead and do that? Just to show you, x is equal to 15, y is equal to 4. Okay. Now, if I want to do addition, x plus y, done. If I want to do subtraction, x minus y. If I don't want to multiplication, x into y, space is not required, guys. Even if you do not put any space, it will still work absolutely fine. For more cleanliness, I put the space, but that's not required. Okay. But for cleanliness part, you can put space. X divided by y, it will give you division. This will give you the remainder. Okay. Sorry, this will give you only integers. Sorry, only integers. So 3.75, it will give you 3. Okay, this is what has happened. If you want remainder, you can get remainder also. Fine. If you want to get exponential, x raised to y. So what is x and what is y? Can you see? We have got this. Okay. So we can do all basic operation of exponential, remainder, integer, division, normal division, okay, float division, addition, subtraction, comparison also if you want to do. So for comparison, equal to, okay. So just to show you, x is equal to 10, y is equal to 20. If I want to compare, we will use double equal to. So actually the output should be false. Let us just check because 10 is not equal to 20, right? So I am saying x is equal to 20. It is false. X is not equal to 20. Is it correct? 10 is not equal to 20. True. So we can try this. Okay. X is greater than y. 10 is greater than 20. False. Okay. 10 is less than equal to 20. True. Yeah. And 10 is greater than equal to, I'm just trying it out everything just to show you that all these variables you can use it out. Okay. If we scroll down application, just to show you. Now, I just told you there are multiple modules, packages, okay, libraries, any name you give. So I am importing, I have already installed. See, when you install Python, some packages come by default, like math packages come by default. Scikit-learn does not come by default. So for installing scikit-learn, you need to make use of pip command. Math comes by default when you install Python. If it is not coming by default, what you need to do is you need to go to command prompt anywhere. You need to say pip install math. Okay. Okay. Let me just check. Yeah. Pip install. So it comes, I told it comes by default. Just to show you, if I come up here, if I say pip install, let me just type scikit learn. Okay. This is a package to build machine learning model. Okay. So can you see it is already satisfied? If I say pip uninstall scikit learn, it will uninstall it. Can you see? I'll say yes, proceed with uninstallation. Is it fine? So what is pip? Pip stands for Python installation packages. So I told there are packages that comes by default and there are packages that you need to install with Python separately. Once you install, then you can import those libraries here. So since it comes by default, I'm directly importing math. And then I'm saying radius is equal to 5. And then in this library, there is a method. In this module, there is a method pi. There is a method pi to which you can specify radius. So I can just say radius. Okay. And once I go pi r square, if you remember, pi into r square. So if you use this math, it will give you a handle to pi value. You could have directly put the pi value as 3.14. That would have been okay. Generally, basic packages like math will come, but SciPy, NumPy, Pandas, you need to install it. If you directly import, it will throw an error. Okay. It will throw an error if you have not installed it in your local system. Is it fine? If you import scikit-learn and if it is not installed, it will throw an error. So right now in the math, there was a pi. Pi is a value 3.1472 something. And now I am saying my area is equal to pi r square. If I want to print it, I can print it this way. I'm writing a string and then I am putting the value. So now if I run this, you can see the area is what I am able to find. Okay. Now if I change the radius to 1, you do know what will be the answer, 3.14152, which is nothing but pi value because I have changed the radius to 1. Okay. Now just to give an example, application of basic Python in machine learning. I'm just helping you understand. If you remember Pandas, okay, so I have to install. So I already have it. So now I can say import Pandas. Now Pandas is a big name, right? So whenever you have a library which has a huge name, you can represent it by a small name. And for that, you need to use as helps you call the larger library name with an alias name. Okay, so any name you want to give, alias name. If you want to give alias name as Jalal also, that's okay. Okay, so right now I'm saying I want to import Pandas and I want to call Pandas by a new name PD. This is a general convention that everyone uses for Pandas. If you want to use anything else, you can use. Now here you can see I am going ahead and defining a data wherein if you can see this is a dictionary. Can you see key and then there is a value? Okay, key and then there is a value. Okay, so just to show you, Pandas can help you read the data. Okay, if you want to read the data, you can read the data. I'll just remove this aspect. I'll just run this. And now let me just show you DF. Can you see? Pandas helps you read the data in a proper tabular format. Data frame is like helping you read the data in the Jupyter notebook. Okay, with the help of data frame, you can read it like Excel. Can you see? So I have defined only one. Can you see? I have defined one. Now, what if I would have given another variable as name? Let me just put it this way, everyone. Let me just put it. Now, let me just put it as name. And now let me just put it as Jalal. Okay. first name, which is okay, age 25. Let me have a smaller age. When I'm saying none, let me just say papaya. It does not have an age, to be very frank. Then 30, let me just tell it as an age of Izhar. Okay. Then let me have none is equal to maybe banana. I'm giving two values. Okay. Just for understanding purpose, how can we go ahead and have the things in place? Okay. Now this is done. Now let me put it here square brace, because this is a list within a dictionary, which is okay. Fine. Now if we run this piece of code, okay, can you see this? So what is Pandas? Pandas helps you do data manipulation as well as read the data in a data frame. Data frame is similar to, if you want to read the data in a row column wise, you can use data frame. Okay. Data frame is more like a class which is part of this module Pandas, and you have imported Pandas by a small short name, alias name as PD. You can give any name as an alias name. This is done. Now feature engineering, just to help you understand. Suppose I have got one list, second list, third list, all three part of one more list, just helping you understand. If I run this, guys, we can even, like, there is something called as scaling the data. Suppose if I want to bring all this value on a single scale, all this value on a single scale, I can do that. Now every value has been brought from a scale of 0 to 1. Earlier the scale, just to show you, if I put here 100, let again we will look into this. Every value will be brought on a scale of 0 to 1. So if I want to scale the data on a single scale wherein the data fluctuates from any value to any value, I can do that. Okay, using something called as min max scaler. That is possible. Okay. Similarly, if I want to plot a curve, right now we are not looking into this. Here you can see I have got, let me just put it here. Let me just say Jalal. Can you see? Now, what I have put, Jalal 10 age, Izhar 20, Jafar 30, Jordan 40. And now I am using matplotlib. In that, there is a sub library. If you remember, sub module pyplot. And I'm saying I want to call pyplot by a simple name PLT. You can give any name. This is a convention that people use. So now if I want to plot, this PLT sub library has something called as plot. So whatever you want to plot, you can say in X and Y. Okay, so it will take X axis as name. Can you see? And Y axis as age. Is it okay? And now you can give the label also. Suppose if I want to say this, I'll just say x-axis name. Okay. And these are all, you can say age. Now let us just run this. Can you see age and name? So if I want to give a title, I can give a title. Here I am saying sample plot. Let me just say this as age plot. Okay. So this is important keyword title, X label for x-axis, Y label for y-axis. It would automatically come here and here because I have specified X is equal to the first value, Y is equal to second value. Now, if I run this, you can see this kind of an age plot. Okay. So guys, I hope you got a basic understanding of the first chapter. Okay. I told you about pre-processing. I told if you want to read and clean data, you can use Pandas. If you want to do some kind of normalization of data, which is part of feature engineering, we can use min max scaler class. Okay, which is part of which min max scaler part is see, whenever you see a capital letter, guys, always remember, whenever you see a capital letter, always remember this is a class which is part of a package. Okay, which we are importing. Simple. Okay, so min max scaler is part of sklearn via which you can normalize the data. If you want to visualize matplotlib, you can import a package. See, here you can see import. And when you say this, this is actually, I am importing a class from a module, then I can go ahead and do that. So I did say you, this is open source distribution of Python and R, okay, for data science and machine learning. it has all the tools, everything, all packages, okay, with respect to visualization, analysis, and development of AI for machine learning model creation. Okay, one more important thing, it has around 7,500, almost all libraries of Python and R are available here. Okay, one more important thing, I did say that it includes Jupyter Notebook, Spider right now is not being used as that much, but yeah, it has Jupyter Notebook and VS Code. One more important thing, it can be used on Windows, Mac OS, or Linux. And it also helps you to go ahead and create virtual environment. Just to show you, if you come up here, if you want to create your own environment, you can create your, right now I only have one environment, but if I want to go ahead and create my own environment, we can directly go ahead and create an environment based on what we require. Right now, not interested for our purpose for this course, so we will avoid that. Okay, but you can create our own environment means basically if I want to use Python 3.10 rather than 3.12 for one of my projects, which will support a typical type of tool or library that is not supported maybe by Python 3.12, so I can go ahead and create an environment. Anaconda is also being utilized at organization level with a paid thing, wherein if you want to secure the things, you can even, if you want to have more reliability and safety with the packages and everything, you can even go for Anaconda paid version. Okay, that is being utilized by so many organizations as a paid, which does not work on a local system. Okay, like it only works with the organization things. Fine, that is also possible. System requirement, at least Python 3.7 or higher. Okay, Windows, if you want to work with Python 3.7 or higher, you need to have at least Windows 7. Okay, this is important. Older versions are also available in the archive. If you go to Anaconda, but that is not required. In that, there is an archive section wherein you can see the older versions also available here itself. So if you go here, okay, you can go to archive, can skip registration, you can go to archive, and you will be able to find older versions also. Okay, that is possible. I think we just need to check. It should be available somewhere here. So basically, these two are different IDEs provided by Jupyter itself, and the things are almost one and the same. The only difference is when you open a Jupyter notebook, I'll just open Jupyter notebook. Okay, I'm just opening a Jupyter notebook. Okay, now I think I have already closed. So when you open a Jupyter notebook, to be very frank, okay, Jupyter notebook, when it is opened, it does not show you the folders this way. Can you see? When you open a Jupyter lab, the best part about Jupyter lab is it is actually almost the same. The only difference here is you can see all these options, but you can even see the file and folder option. Is it okay? Yeah, in the notebook itself on the left side, you will be able to see. Yeah, can you see? So I'll go to. So this was not available when you're going for Jupyter notebook. This on the left side, you can see the interface. That's the only thing. Apart from that, everything remains same. Okay, so you have Jupyter Lab, you can use Jupyter Lab or Jupyter Notebook. Okay, both are IDEs that you can go ahead and use for your work purpose. Okay.
And that's a wrap. We hope this video gave you a solid starting point in the entire Python environment setup and the fundamentals of coding in Python. Everything from installing Python and Anaconda to creating notebooks in Jupyter as well as VS Code to doing basic data manipulation and visualizations. Now, if you found this video helpful, don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe to K21 Academy for more in-depth tutorials and courses. And be sure to drop a comment of any of the questions you have related to Python, as we really love hearing from you. Now, if you're looking to take your Python for machine learning skills even further, you could book a free call with us. Our expert team will guide you through the best resources and provide you with a personalized roadmap to help you land the job of your dreams in the tech industry. So click the link in the description below to book your call now, and let's get into the path to success. With this, thanks a lot for watching, and I'll see you all in the next video.